I simulated Fire Godzilla and Fire King Kong in real life. This is Fire Godzilla as a baby, and this is Fire King Kong as a baby. I'm going to simulate what it would be like to raise both of them in real life. I'll be building habitats for them, feeding them, introducing them to other animals, and simulating every stage of their lives as they grow bigger and stronger. This might get completely out of control, but first, here they are as babies. They're both sleeping right now. Fire Godzilla is about 4 inches tall, tiny claws, small teeth, and glowing orange cracks running across his scales. Small sparks escape from his mouth every time he breathes. Next to him is Fire King Kong, also about 4 inches tall, tiny fists, small fur covered in glowing embers, and he's already gripping things with his hands. Both of these creatures are extremely small right now, but eventually, they're going to grow into massive living titans of fire. So this is probably the safest they will ever be. To simulate raising them, I start by giving them some toys. Fire King Kong immediately grabs a small metal ball. He throws it across the table. Fire Godzilla watches it roll, then accidentally melts a small line in the table when his tail brushes against it. Now I offer them my finger. Fire King Kong grabs it like he wants to climb. Fire Godzilla simply sniffs it. Luckily, their teeth are still tiny, because later, that will definitely change. Now it's time to feed them. So here's a montage of them trying different foods, starting with berries. Fire King Kong eats them instantly. Fire Godzilla heats them slightly before eating them. Next, a slice of watermelon, then a pancake. Fire King Kong stuffs his face. Fire Godzilla accidentally sets the edge of the pancake on fire. And finally, a tiny chicken nugget, which they both try to steal from each other. They wash everything down with water. But Fire Godzilla overheats the bowl halfway through. Since they both have fire abilities, I build them a volcanic habitat. Half the enclosure is a lava pool. Fire Godzilla prefers the lava pool. Fire King Kong prefers tall, rocky cliffs, where he can climb and jump around. There's also a large cave in the back, and thick stone walls separating their territories, because if they start fighting now, the habitat definitely won't survive. Then I carry them outside and place them in my backyard. At first, both creatures pause. They look around slowly, taking in the completely new environment. Fire Godzilla walks toward the pond. The moment his claws touch the water, steam rises instantly. Meanwhile, Fire King Kong climbs a nearby tree, reaching the top branch in seconds. From the top branch, he looks across the whole yard, clearly curious about everything around him. They spend the next hour exploring every corner. Fire Godzilla moves across the grass, leaving faint burn marks behind him whenever he steps near the pond. The water begins to heat up. Meanwhile, Fire King Kong finds a pile of small rocks. He picks one up and throws it across the yard. The rock lands near Fire Godzilla, who stares at it for a moment. Then suddenly, he releases his first burst of fire. The rock instantly glows red hot. Fire King Kong watches from the tree. Clearly impressed, Fire King Kong watches closely. He climbs down the tree quickly and walks toward Fire Godzilla. For a moment, they just stare. Then King Kong pounds his chest loudly, creating a tiny shockwave. Fire Godzilla steps back slightly, but not in fear. More like curiosity. Fire Godzilla lowers his head slightly. As the glow inside his mouth slowly builds, Fire King Kong immediately notices and quickly grabs another rock. He throws it again. But Fire Godzilla reacts instantly. A small burst of fire shoots forward. Fire King Kong freezes for a second. For a moment, Fire King Kong just stands there, watching the melted rock pieces. Then his expression slowly changes into excitement. He pounds his chest proudly, making a deep thumping sound. The ground around him vibrates just a little. Fire Godzilla watches him carefully from a short distance. Then he slowly begins walking forward again, until the two tiny monsters stand face to face once more. For a few seconds, neither of them moves. But the tension between them is clearly growing. Suddenly, Fire King Kong bends down and grabs another rock from the grass. This time the rock is noticeably bigger. He roars loudly before throwing it. Then he throws the rock straight toward Fire Godzilla. Fire Godzilla reacts almost instantly. A bright orange glow starts building inside his mouth. A powerful burst of fire shoots forward. The rock explodes into glowing molten fragments mid-air. Hot pieces of stone scatter across the backyard. Fire King Kong jumps backward to avoid the falling fragments. Without hesitation, Fire King Kong turns and starts running across the yard. Fire Godzilla immediately rushes after him. The ground beneath Godzilla starts to scorch slightly. Fire King Kong quickly jumps onto a nearby rock and immediately leaps again toward a tree. He grabs onto the trunk and starts climbing, fast. Fire Godzilla stops at the base of the tree. He tilts his head up, tracking every movement. Then his mouth begins glowing again with intense heat. A narrow stream of fire shoots upward toward the tree. The tree trunk instantly begins to darken and smoke under the heat. Small flames start spreading along the bark. Fire King Kong reacts quickly and looks around for an escape. Without waiting, he leaps toward another nearby tree. The burning tree behind him continues to crackle loudly. The noise starts to carry beyond the yard. A nearby neighbor notices something unusual. They stop and stare, trying to understand what's happening. Then they notice the flames growing higher, and suddenly, more people begin to look in that direction. Some even start walking closer to see what's going on, but none of them are prepared for what they're about to see next. As they get closer, the fire becomes impossible to ignore. The air feels hotter with every step they take forward. Someone carefully looks over the fence into the yard, and then they freeze completely in shock, because what they see makes absolutely no sense at all. Two tiny creatures moving inside the fire. One of them looks like a burning lizard. The other looks like a flaming miniature gorilla. They're not just standing there, they're actually fighting each other. One person quickly pulls out their phone to record everything. Others step back, unsure if they should run or stay, because this situation is clearly getting out of control fast. But this is only a small glimpse of what they can actually become. Because right now, they are still just babies. And their power is already starting to grow rapidly. Now imagine what happens when they fully grow up. A fully grown Fire Godzilla wouldn't just burn a tree. He could easily set entire city blocks on fire. And a grown Fire King Kong would be just as dangerous, with strength powerful enough to crush almost anything. And if they continue fighting at that scale, the damage would be completely uncontrollable. So what started as something small and almost harmless could quickly turn into a global-level disaster. And at that point, there would be no way to stop them. This is what happens when creatures like this exist in the real world. So the real question is, would you ever try to raise them yourself?